doesn't matter what goes wrong, how it goes wrong, I will always, believe in, well, if I've hit the bottom now, then the only way to go is back up. And you just keep climbing again. Yeah, I know many people that have hit rock bottom and then they just bounce back up. You hear all those big names, people that have been made bankrupt in their past and stuff like that, Richard Branson and people like that. They've all hit rock bottom at some point, and look at them now. You can only go back up, and I'm a
Multiple
true believer of
times.
that. Yeah.
Welcome to the Director First show, and today I'm going to be joined by Andrea L. Richards from Accounts Navigator. She is an absolute powerhouse and a fountain of knowledge, and today we're going to be digging into everything about the lady, where she come from, what happened, and what she's like today. Andrea, thank you for spending an hour with us on the podcast.
Happy to be here, Chris.
So, I want to take you back to 2003. I've done a fair bit of stalking about you. You were working 18-hour days, 7 days a week. I want you to be honest with us. What was going to break first, the business or your body?
I would say the business, just based on the fact that I didn't mind doing 18-hour days, 7 days a week. I just lived and breathed the company. That's all I wanted to do. It was my partner that told me I was burning out, and literally that I had to make decisions about the business moving forward. And basically, he wanted me to go back to the day job. Yeah, a normal 9 to 5. But because I was spending all my time on the business, and that's how that panned out. It would have definitely been the business would have been a goner more than me.
What was the moment that you sort of said something's got to give? Was there like a pivotal moment to go?
Yeah, and again, it was my partner. I live and breathe accountancy, always have done all my life. From the age of 9, wanted to be an accountant. So for me, being an accountant, it was what it was. And if it took up all my time, it took up all my time. With my partner, I was drifting away from the family. And that's what became a problem for everybody, because all I did was work. And so for me, working 80 nowadays, 7 days a week was fine. But it was my partner that didn't want me to do that anymore, and literally wanted me back in the fold with the
Listen,
family.
I get it. I really can identify with that. Like some people have hobbies. I don't have a hobby. I actually really like work, the cut and thrust of business. And someone said to me, like, do you not have any? I have one hobby, trainers, okay, but it's not as important to work for me, and like it can get difficult at home. I've got little kids, and sometimes my missus will give me that look, and we'll have that conversation, like, Chris, it's happening again.
Yeah.
You hear the lights are on, but there's no one home. But I mean,
Yeah.
you've said it, haven't you? What 9-year-old wants to be an accountant?
I know.
But I want to get into that, and because listen, for me, I remember as a kid wheeling and dealing, selling clothes and perfumes, and like I really did that. I had a big school bag with no school bags in. I had snide Ralph Lauren jackets and t-shirts,
Hear
Um,
it.
so what's the story? I mean,
Yeah.
how does that come about? A 9-year-old going, you know what? I want to be an accountant.
Okay. So it starts off with my mum going to parents' evening. And when she went to parents' evening, they said, Andrea's great. She's so bright. She's an A-star student. She's wonderful. She's brilliant at maths. And so she comes back from parents' evening, tells me how wonderful I am, and then says, you should be an accountant. Well, at 9, I didn't even know what an accountant was. But the bright spark I went to the Oxford Dictionary, because we didn't have Google back then. I had to go to the Oxford Dictionary, and I looked up the word accountant, found out what an accountant was, and then said, oh, okay. Then I went to the newspaper, because again, there was no Google, and I looked for a job for an accountant in the newspaper, and there it was, and it had some big number on it, how much they were going to pay me. And I was like, yeah, that's me. I'm going to be an accountant. As well, in the newspaper, they had the word bookkeeper. Didn't know what that was. Looked that one up. So, okay, I'll start there. I had this whole story in my head at the age of 9, based on my mum just coming back and telling me I'd be great at maths and that I should be an accountant. Didn't know what it was. Looked it up and decided, yeah, that was a bit of me, and that was going to be me, and so literally from the age of 9, when anybody asked, "What are you going to be when you're older?" An accountant. An accountant.
Fill us in from 9 then. Okay, so 9 you
Right.
get the inspiration. Then what
So
happened?
the path was laid. 9, I'm going to be an accountant. 10, I'm going to be an accountant. 11, I'm going to be an accountant. And that went on. You're going to secondary school now, and yeah, still going to be an accountant. All focused. Going to be that. My grades are great. Everything's fine. Going to be an accountant. 13, still going to be an accountant. 14, yeah, things changed a bit. You know, boys became a thing, and then all of a sudden it was like, yeah, still going to be an accountant, but where I was so focused before, focusing seemed to stop, and boys became the main priority, and I got me a boyfriend, and yeah, that went really well, too well. And that because by the time I was 15, I was pregnant. And yeah, no one was really happy with that, and everyone was really disappointed, because Andrea was the brain, she was going to do really well, and
Yeah,
now she's pregnant. And I told my folks at the time not to worry about it, I can do both.
yeah.
And literally from that moment, finding out I was pregnant, telling my parents I was pregnant, and I said I was going to do both, I was focused again. I'm going to have this baby, and I'm going to show them that I will still be an accountant, and everything's going to be okay. And literally from that point, I had to replan how I was going to have a baby and become an accountant and do it a different way to the initial plan. Because the initial plan was, do your GCSEs, do your A levels, go uni, go and get a job in an accountancy practice. Obviously, with a baby in tow, that wasn't going to be possible. And so I had to find a different route. So, literally, after I did my GCSEs, I did go to sixth form, and I went there for 1 year doing A levels. And it was then I decided, I need money, I want money. And literally, I left my A levels after the first year and went and got a job as a junior accounts assistant, Springboard Housing Association. Yeah. Remember it well.
I mean, listen, that's some going, isn't it? Because at the you must. I imagine you was one of the one of the youngest in your peer groups with many peers that had babies. Like, imagine at the time it was probably, wow, that's big news.
It was, like I said, my family were really disappointed because they didn't see me going that way, even though I knew my head was all boys, 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 and
Yeah,
that, I still was going to be an accountant, but it didn't seem to be my top priority at that time.
yeah.
And, I met this guy, I thought I was in love, and next thing you knew, I was pregnant and I had the baby. And it was a case of, don't worry, because I am bright, because I can do this, I will show you. And I did both, and literally I got the job. When I managed to get the job, that was really a massive kickstart because they paid for me to study in the evenings, which was great. And that was the whole plan: get a job, study in the evenings, and move
And
forward.
look, I've got 3 little girls. Okay, I've got another one due on Friday.
Good luck to you.
Right? Yeah, thank God I've got no hair. And like really, like from the bottom, like the way my missus, like I mean, I work. She looks after the kids. It is a full-time job. Like, so to do that at 16 and build a career. I mean, that must have been, there must have been times you thought, how was that? Like, let's dig into that as an experience.
It's quite funny because I actually found it quite easy. I was focused. I truly believe if you focus, yeah, you will get what you want. And I was focused on proving to my parents that I will still be an accountant. And it's been a big thing. And, as the story goes on, really, it's been a thing all my life. I will prove to you that I am great. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's all I was ever focused on. Yeah. Being
Right.
great and showing people that I am not your typical uh, pregnant school teenager,
Mhm.
that it's not going to change my path. I've got goals and I will pursue those goals. And my boy, he was great. He was born. He was a good kid. He was full of beans, but we call him handbag because he was with me everywhere I went, literally. Other than the
Love it.
classroom, when my mum would have him in the evening, so she would pick him up from the nursery so that I could go to college in the evenings and that. So she would pick him up and have him for those 3-4 hours when I was studying, and it was great. I managed to study. I worked by day. I studied by night. I'd leave my house at 6:45 in the morning to take him to nursery. All these things, I'm not back in until 9:30, 10 o'clock. That was just life at that time. But I knew I had a goal, and so for me, I truly believe in pursuing goals. You've really got to go at it, and so if you're tired or not, it doesn't matter. Like you just keep
Yeah, yeah.
going, which is why I was fine doing 18-hour days, 7 days a week because I had a goal. Yeah, and I was pursuing that goal, and I needed to work those hours and get that money in to pursue my goals, and that. So
Does your lad have like an entrepreneurial flair now? Has
he's so he's
has him
me,
seeing you?
boy version of me,
Right. Wow.
boy version of me, definitely. We're 15 years apart. We have this little joke that I said, "What are you going to do with me when I'm older?" He says, "Not to worry, we'll both be in the same care home together." So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we're really close, and literally, yeah, he's a carbon copy of me.
My 10-year-old, like she's dyslexic, so she's not, and we had to, she's just at school academically, she's not great. Um, but they had like a summer fair this year, and she's on the stall, and she's selling and she's marketing, and like the teacher actually messaged her mum. She says, "I cannot like express like how surprising it was to see Layla sort of come out of herself." And like, that made me really proud because she's like I'm on the phone and I'm doing bits at home, and like, listen, school is important, gotta get it done, but
Mhm.
I don't think it's as important as actually having that flair to be able to sort of take risks, to be able to sell ideas, to be, whatever. The school system doesn't teach that, does it? It just
Nah,
teaches you to fit into a square box.
yeah.
And the days of going and getting a job, having it for 40 years. So it's I try and show my kids what I think they should be learning in business, and sort of hopefully some of it definitely has rubbed off on Layla. I'm not sure about the other two yet, perhaps a little bit too young.
Totally agree.
What
Totally agree.
some of the things that you speak about, what one thing that I really wanted to touch on is overcoming the odds, because there'll be people who are watching this that are feeling trapped. Like my audience, I work in insolvency and turnaround. I'm getting people who are distressed, think like some really bad stuff's happening to them. Not everyone who watches this show is in distress, though. Our numbers show that. But talk to us about overcoming odds, Andrew. What's that story about? What does it mean to you? And what can you pass on to the people who are watching or listening?
So, overcoming the odds is actually the title of my keynote speech when I do public speaking, and literally is telling my story and just letting people understand and realize that it doesn't matter if things go wrong. Yeah, I have this whole thing about if you hit rock bottom, the only way is to get back up and go back
Mhm.
up, and that for me, that's always a thing. If things don't go the way you need them to go, then literally you've just got to try something else and just keep climbing back up. There's no point sitting there and wallowing about it. You've reached rock bottom already. You've done that.
Mhm.
So what can you do next? Climb back up. And it's as simple as that. I literally have, doesn't matter what goes wrong, how it goes wrong, I will always, believe in, well, if I've hit the bottom now, then the only way to go is back up. And you just keep climbing again. Yeah, I know many people that have hit rock bottom and then they just bounce back up. You know, you hear all those big names, people that have been made bankrupt in their past and stuff like that, Richard Branson and people like that. They've all hit rock bottom at some point, and look at them now. You can only go back up, and I'm a
Multiple
true believer of
times.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm a
I get
true
it.
believer of that, and that if you're at the bottom, the only way back is up, and so you just keep climbing again. You learn
I
from your
know
mistakes.
that's the key, isn't it? It's like, can you learn something from what's happened? Like my rock bottom sort of in business was when I had to go through an insolvency.
Yeah,
Like literally, it were awful. Like I have sim- listen, if I fall, no one catches me. There's no rich parents. There's no like,
exactly.
and um, and at the time, like I said, I had to put a business through insolvency. It was frightening. I didn't get. There was none of this. There was no direct support out there. It was like you was spoken to like a naughty schoolboy, like a bloody criminal. It was such a difficult experience. But it were actually, in hindsight, it was the best thing that ever happened to me because it gave me the idea to start what we do, which is
Mhm.
director advisory. And that's what I try and tell directors. It's like, listen, it doesn't matter what's going on now. Right? You've got to try and get them to start counting the blessings
Mm,
when it feels really dark. And with what we do, people take their life over it. Like literally,
I can imagine.
they feel like there's no way out.
Yeah,
And it's like, listen, you've got to separate. Like, well, that's your business, right? It's not you. Are your kids okay? Have you got enough food in the fridge? And truly getting it down to real basics. What I wanted to ask you was, have you had a rock bottom in business? And if you have, would you mind sharing it with us? And how did you overcome it?
so my worst experience has been team of 9. I've got a team of 9, and I fire one, and that because they deserved to be fired. They weren't doing their job. And then I got backlash from the rest of the team, and I had 7 people leave my business in a 3-week period. That left us with
Ouch.
2 in the office for a workforce of work that we had for 9 people. I wasn't even really in the business. I spend a lot of my time out of the business. I get to work on my business all the time. I don't actually do day-to-day work anymore. My team does that for me. My job is about marketing and sales and bringing my new clients in and stuff. And the problem I had, there was no one to do the work, but there was 9 people, 9 staff worth of work to be done. And yeah, that was a nightmare. That only happened 3 years ago. Yeah. And at that point I'd been 19 years in business, and I never foresaw that at all. And that was a nightmare. I had to get back on the books, get back on the grind. I was using software that I'd implemented into the business and given to the staff but never used myself. It was really scary time, and I really worried about the business at that point. And but that's been my worst episode in business.
What was there any learnings you could take from that?
Um, it was learnings, yeah. So for me, with losing the team and that, I felt I put too much trust in my team, but you have to trust your team, yeah,
Mhm.
to get on with the work. You can't grow a business on your own. You need your team, and I really trusted my team to, back me, but they seem to have backed the lazy way. And so now I've learned that I need to start monitoring my team a lot more and not just leaving them to it. As much as they were great accountants and admin team, they were great and they did their job. So I thought. And that what I've learned since then is the people that I've employed since, they work in a very different way. I I took the pulse off of the job. Like literally, I let them get on with running the business. And this is the manager was the guy that I had to sack because of the way he was running the business and the things that were happening in the business that I didn't even realize were happening because I let them just get on with it. And so, as a business owner, as much as you want to step back and leave your team to get on with the work, I feel I need to still keep a pulse on what's actually
Yeah.
happening and get more involved. And that I stepped away too far and so now I'm
I can
still
relate to
more
it.
hands-on. And that I thought I'd reached a stage at the business, and then 19 years in, where I thought everything was going great and it was fine, and I literally stepped away from the business and let the manager get on with it. But I should have kept a more beadier eye on my manager. I left it
Yeah.
there for far too long, with him just running the show, but he just wasn't running the show that I'd set up.
I get it.
And that.
Listen, I want to take a slightly different tack now. A question that is a massive red flag to me, and I'd say to everyone we've got here: if someone rings up and all they want to know is how do you charge, how much do you charge? Okay, I'd say that is a red flag. Like in insolvency, that's just going to get you in so much trouble because
Yeah.
the easy answer is it's £5 plus VAT for a liquidation. What they don't realise is they've probably got a 50 grand claim against them personally down the line for a director's loan account. Now, with you, it's a little bit different. What I've heard you say in the past, it's how much are you going to save me? Now,
Mm-hmm.
how do you try and educate people who just see accountants as a cost? How do you educate them that finance function is actually an investment?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just about to say we are definitely an investment for us. And when I do a discovery call, so my office manager does a discovery call with my clients, and then they book in a time with myself for a 1 hour free consultation, and it's in there where they gain so much value. And that, for me, it's not just about, as an accountant, I'm not just here to calculate your taxes. I'm here to help you grow your business. And so for me, I'm definitely an investment, and I just plug that to them. For someone, if you want an accountant that's just going to calculate your taxes, we are not the person, and that because we're too involved. Yeah, we get too involved in your business. We are a partnership with your business, and so we are definitely an investment in the sense that for us, it's really important that all my clients understand their numbers, so they make the right decisions in their business, so that they make those savings, so that they're making less tax payments. If they have knowledge, which is what we're going to give them, then they're going to be able to make savings and grow their business. So we are definitely an investment in their business, and we always plug that with them. We show them that we're big on communication. For us, it's all about the talking. The minimum least time that a client cannot talk to me is a month, and that. So we're not a year-end client accountant where you come to us at the end of the year with your paperwork.
When the
We're
damage
involved.
is already done.
It's already done. Can't deal
Yeah.
with your history. Yeah, can't change your history for you, and that. So for us, we deal with all our clients on a monthly basis as a minimum, and we talk to them consistently. We are your accounts department. Yeah. So if you had an accounts department in your building with you'd be popping in and talking to them on a daily basis. You want this, you want that. How do I do this? How do I do that? And we're that person. We're always available. You don't have to make appointments to see us or ring us, and that you pick up the phone and you call. Have that conversation. Whatever it is,
And
there's always someone available. Yeah.
I mean, I laugh, right? Because obviously I have to deal with accountants all the time. Some good, some not so great, And they don't like picking the phone up. Like they
No.
hate, like most. They're like, oh, it's an email. I'm emailing back and forth because the communication. And listen, I'm not digging accountants out because there are some great
Dig
ones
them
there.
because they're not like me.
I only choose the ones that I look out when we're stalking people. Is like it's people saying the stuff that direct. I mean, my view is them year-end accounts are just keeping you out of prison. That like literally they're about as much use as a chocolate tea cozy.
Exactly
Because
that.
you've got to remember, Andrea, I get the call when Rome's burning. Like HMRC are going to wind them up. They've got overdrawn loan accounts that they don't even know about. They are vastly insolvent. And the first thing I say, right, send me a balance sheet. Oh, well, I've only got my last set of accounts, what, from 18 months ago? I said, so have you been making your decisions since then? It's frightening. And I'm not just talking about Bob the Builder who does 200 grand a year. There are some like businesses that are turning over millions that have no monthly management information.
Madness.
So like for me, right? Tell me, I've come to you, Andrea. I'm looking for a new finance function because I know some people don't even like the word accountant because it just like. Tell me what I should be doing, like as an absolute bog standard, regardless of whether I'm turning over 100 grand a year or millions and millions. What's the basics I should be doing?
Okay, so what we do in our business, and I feel these are the basics at minimum that you should be doing as a minimum. We timeline everything. Yeah, so we make sure that our clients understand that dealing with your accounts on a monthly basis as a minimum is priority, and that you can't make decisions without these numbers. And so I mean, we have a timeline. We have to have the bookkeeping from the previous month done by the 15th of the month. You have to have we timeline everything. VATs are done by the 23rd of the month, giving us time so that we can make payment 2 weeks later by the 7th of the month. So we time everything that we're doing, and we get our clients into a process, into a system format, so that they make sure that they're delivering the paperwork that we need on time, so that we can deliver what they need. By the end of the following, middle of the month to the end of the month, they've got a set of management accounts from the previous month or the previous quarter, so that they can understand, look at those figures and make decisions. So at any one time, they're only ever 3 weeks behind on the previous month's paperwork and they've looked at that, understood those figures, seen what they've done, and they make decisions based on that. Yeah, so for me, it's keeping up to date all the time. I keep saying to people, if you're doing your own bookkeeping, then you could do it. It could take you 10 minutes a day if you did it daily. Yeah, if you did it daily, 10-15 minutes, putting your invoices in, sending out your invoices, getting that bookkeeping done so that you have the basics of a P&L in front of you and you can see what's happening, and that could take you 15 minutes a day, and that for a small business, and they just to keep on top of stuff. I do
Can
mine
I push
daily.
back a little bit on
Go
that,
on then.
right? Because obviously, like Xero, QuickBooks, Free Agent, it's all designed that it's idiot proof, right? But come on, like I've done this myself, right? Bless her, like Emily works with me. She's mega. She's worked with me for years and years. And I said to her when she first started working, because I was like scrimping and saving, I said, Emily, I says, what you like at bookkeeping? She's like, it can't be that hard. And we did it for 18 months, right? No, man, I mean, and I give it to the accountant. He says, Chris, it's all wrong. I've got to go back. So the actual cost of having a bookkeeper in really compared to doing it yourself. Like I tell people, just pay. I mean, some packages will be starting from 200 quid a month, won't they? It's like, what do you mind me asking? Because I know people get work from these podcasts, so they get the inquiries. If somebody wanted to work with you at a base level package, what would you charge them? And what would they need to be as a client? Who's your ideal client here?
Right. So I don't think there's one client that pays the same price as another client. For me, every business is individual. We have a pricing structure, but it's based on your business. So, yes, we have turnover brackets that we work with, but again, it's based on we charge per transaction that we're dealing with. So we're transaction based rather than time based in any way. So literally, when you've done your gloss review, your consultation with me, I've actually dug deep into your business. I've asked you, how many bank transactions do you do each month? How much this? How much that? And that will determine the price of their monthly retainer that they pay to me. And that. But for me, what I've noticed when I do these consultations, people they come out of it at the end and they always say, "Oh my gosh, I've never known an accountant to ask so many questions. I've never known anyone to ask me about my goals. Oh, you've really got me thinking. Oh, I didn't think about that before." And da, da, da. So I get them thinking. Yeah. I've got them thinking, and so my price itself is always different because it's based on their business. Yeah,
Mhm.
not every business is going to have 20 transactions, one employee, turnover 80K. It all depends on that. We have a pricing structure, but we don't have a specific price. I would say the cheapest one that anyone could really come through would be 250 plus VAT, and that around that figure for a small
And
limited
that
business. And I don't
and
claim
that's
to be
not a
the
lot of money,
cheapest.
is it?
It's
No,
not a lot of money, but a lot of businesses seem to think it is because they don't value the benefit that the accountant is going to give them. And I've always said to anyone that's going into business, when you start that business, you should have an accountant with you because they should be setting it up for you. They should be setting up your limited structure. They should be doing all these things for you because I see a lot of people, they've gone on Company's House and they've done it themselves. And they're
yeah.
coming and they're showing me their one chair that they built for their business. I think, well, that's wrong. You shouldn't have done it that way in the first place. All these things, for me, when you start business, you need to be looking to find an accountant to work with you from the beginning and help you build and move that business forward. Because like we said before, you can't deal in history. And so if you have someone at the very beginning with you, showing you the way, doing things correctly from the beginning, and that when you say about QuickBooks and Zero and all these people use, as much as they're meant to be easy, they're easy to people that know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that
Listen,
people
brighter
that
people,
don't
I can't do
know,
it.
they come to us with, a sale in the bank and a sales invoice. So they've doubled their turnover. So they think their business is doing wonderfully well, and that it's not. They've doubled their turnover because of the way they've inputted their transactions into these systems. And that if you don't know, you end up doing it incorrectly. So for me, it's getting an accountant on board from the very beginning so that they can show you the way, so that they can teach you. If you want to do your own bookkeeping, let the bookkeeper tell you and show you how it's done from the very beginning, and that so that it's all correct from the beginning. And that, yeah.
What's the biggest mistakes that you've seen people make at the moment? 2025, this is probably going to go, it's going to go out in September 2025. Biggest mistakes that you've seen directors make?
Um, not having management accounts. I see a lot of that all the time. So they're not made that they I don't know what their decisions are based on when they're making decisions for their business because they're not looking at the numbers and making those decisions. Um, what other mistakes do they do? Yeah, not talking and letting people know if there's an issue. They leave it to when it's too late. Again, if you have a good accountant, there should be someone there that you should be able to talk to who can guide you and show you the way. If things are not going well, don't bottle it up. It's best to talk it out because somebody will have some form of resolve and that. And even when it comes to our friend HMRC, if you talk to them, it's
Absolutely.
actually life can be a lot easier than running from them. And that it become, there is a solution to certain problems. And if you talk to people, you might get a better result than bagging it up. Mm.
I mean, the office is it Essex or Hertfordshire yours?
I live in Hertfordshire. My office is in Essex.
That's it. Right. So I know there's like the first. I get loads of work in Essex. I just did
Hmm.
some jobs there a few years ago, and people just remember. Um, I've had to speak to the enforcement agents in Essex, and I think there's two HMR FTSE enforcement agents.
Right.
That they are normal people, like what people are so scared of, and I think this is I know for me, like in my profession, let me tell you, insolvency people, most that they will spout the Insolvency Act at a director, and it just alienates the director in front. That's why we've always done well. Like we talk like a normal person. We think we try and dress like one. We just talk to people as humans. But
Yeah.
accountants are the same. Like some accountants will spit. You mention it. Plain English accounting. What's the word? Plain English accounting. I did a note about that. Why do you think professionals spout stuff at clients that they don't understand? Why doesn't everybody have our approach and sort of try and make it simple? Yes, we know all the technical stuff, right? But me spouting section 216 at a director who is thinking about bloody, how he's going to feed his family, it's not helpful. Why do some of us do it like this and some of us do it, I would call it the old way?
I actually think some accountants are quite snobbish. I'm in quite a few forums.
I hear you.
I'm in quite a few accountancy forums, and some of the things that I hear them say, I'm like, wow, are you not human? I mean, that I just feel that some of them feel that they're better than others. And I
The
just
God
don't feel that's the way
complex.
to go. Yeah, they feel that, I'm an accountant, I'm educated, I'm this. But this person's just set up a business. Like, they're educated in some way. They've done what they wanted to do, and that they've set the business from it, but they don't see it from that perspective. I just feel that some accountants feel that they're better than.
Well, you want to wait till you meet some insolvency practitioners. Not all, by the way. Last week,
Well, this is it.
I
I've
was
got some
getting
great accountancy
absolutely
friends.
rinsed. And people commenting about like a hypothetical question. And it's like these directors, they're out there spending money on luxury holidays, ripping off the taxpayer, like with absolute proper contempt prior to investigation. I'm just thinking, if you were a director watching this, like, you'd be like, oh my God, this guy's an absolute,
Yeah,
like, and that's what they're like. And it's like, I suppose to flip it makes our life easier, doesn't it? Because it's like, we can deal with someone who's going to talk to you on a human level,
yeah.
or you're going to deal with someone who's going to speak down to you.
Yeah, I hate that mentality. Coming from a working class background, for me, there's no need, yeah, to talk to people in that way. We all accomplish what we want to accomplish. And, for me, if somebody's opened a business, yeah, then they must have been good at what they were doing for them to have opened a business and that. And, I just happen to be good at accounts. They're good at what they do. I'm good at accounts. And for me, there's no reason to be snobberish about the fact that I'm an accountant and what you're the carpenter. It makes no difference to me. Like I just see it a lot and I just think, wow. And that, like I said, people are people and we should all be treated the same. And yeah, they may have got it wrong, but you're the expert, so you should be teaching them to get it right.
That's why they're coming to us, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah.
like, and I think that's like people have sort of PTSD because they had a bad experience with an accountant or a bad experience with an insolvency practitioner 5 years ago, and it's sort of people. I see it a lot where people don't really want to admit what's going on.
Yeah, I hear it.
Um, but actually, if you like a full and frank conversation, it's like if they tell you early enough about a problem, you could probably fix that problem without speaking to me. If
Right.
I get a problem early enough, like I'll have accountants going, Chris, there's an issue with HMRC here. It's good business fundamentally. They've missed 2 VAT quarters. HMRC are talking about winding up position. The director doesn't know that, well, actually, if you speak to the revenue and you tell them what's gone on and you come to them with a cash flow and say, listen, I need 3 years on a time to pay. People are going, you can't get a time to pay for 3 years. You bloody
Yes, you
well
can.
can if you've got a good enough reason to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a compelling reason. Um, and I think it feeds into what you're saying is it's having that, and I'm going to come on to my next question. It's having that cash flow, that cash flow projection. Most people speak to the revenue that they're not educated on how to do it. They've sort of just been go and ring them yourselves, and then they're agreeing to time to pay arrangements that's destined
They
to
can't
fail.
keep.
And then what happens? You miss your time to pay arrangement, you're going to get wound up anyway. So, talking about my next question here, you talk about most cash flow stress can be avoided. And I think you mentioned you've got forecasting versus finger crossing, which I quite like. Um, what is the Andrea Richards methods to stop businesses falling into the same old traps when it comes to cash flow and cash management? What do you do?
Okay, simple things. Yeah. When you've done a job, invoice it. Yeah. I
Boom.
find like, we say boom, yeah, but the amount of clients that say, oh, still haven't done the invoicing for that thing that I did 2 months ago. Are you crazy? Yeah.
Yeah.
The minute a job is done, invoice it. Yeah. You've given them time to pay. If you've given them 30 days to pay it, make sure you're collecting it on 30 days. And if they're not paying on 30 days, pick up the phone and call them. Call
Mm.
them, try and get your money in. You need to keep your cash flowing in. It's so important. You know, they say, you know, your profit can look great, but your bank account looks absolutely atrocious and
Mhm.
that. So, like, literally, invoice your bills, basics, invoice what you need to invoice out and collect what you need to collect. Yeah, good little tips. 3 days before it's due. Your invoice is due on blah blah date. Looking forward to receiving your payment, blah, 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 blah. If there's any issues, please let us know. Let's talk about it from now before it's even due. Yeah. And let's come up with something. Yeah. And that basics, invoice it and collect it.
Get the money in. I mean, you sort of seem to work across loads of different sectors:
Mm.
entrepreneurs, trades, creative, property investors. I don't want to know specifics, but who gets into the most tax trouble? I've got an idea of what I see, but why do you think they
Mm.
get into the most trouble?
In in my with my clients, I'm gonna say the entertainers, the creators, because they don't care enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not where their head's at. They're not interested in the pounds and pence. They're interested in creating whatever they do, be they musicians, actors,
Mhm.
poetry artists, whoever they are. That's what their interest lies in, and figures is not usually their thing.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, they work with me, they're not going to get in trouble because we're on them and we're talking to them and letting them know it's important. But I just find with creatives, it's not their forte. They're not into numbers. Oh, just get it done. I've seen them hand over and said, but we need to talk about it. We need to discuss these things. Oh, you just do it. You just do it. And that, because they don't care enough, because that's not their forte. I think it's people that don't, yeah, they don't have to deal with numbers in their day-to-day job, get very scared, and most people will. So for instance, if you're a consultant of any kind, you're going to be dealing in numbers in some way with your clients, yeah, with your own clients and that, so you might have a better interest. With creative, it's all about their performance, and they just, yeah, they don't care enough to
I
do
was
what they're
gonna,
meant to do.
I was maybe thought you might say property guys and girls, because
Mm,
that's why I'm seeing a lot of difficulties at the moment, and just because the market's changed, finance is expensive, they've just took on too much debt, and and I think a lot of it is we're looking at the world with rose tinted glasses. What the biggest problem I'm seeing at the moment, as a whole across every industry, is in 2020, 2021, 2022, things were absolutely booming. People had to take on debt to sort of ride this wave, whether it was, more stock, investing in
yeah,
systems, investing in people. But the banks, bar the bounce back loans and the C bills, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole on this
no,
on this podcast. They were able to get money, but it was from people that definitely wanted a personal guarantee. And in hindsight, the actual interest rate was really quite high. And that's, you can sort of stomach that when things are good.
mm,
But let's face it, the last 2 years have been shocking. Like the UK
right,
at the moment, I mean, God knows what's coming out in this autumn budget.
I'm scared.
But it's frightening, isn't it? I spoke to a tax advisor the other day, and I interviewed him. I says, "What's the best bit of advice you can give people, Omar?" He says, "Get out of the UK." I'm like, "Whoa, I wasn't expecting that." But back to my point. Forget where I was going with that. Um,
You were
yeah,
saying property. Mm.
well, and I went on to like expensive debt being serviced, but I'm seeing people like they're taking on debt to pay the wages, to take, to sort of it be HMRC. There's no financial decision making
Mhm.
to justify why they're taking that debt. And I think that's the biggest problem I'm seeing. But listen, I'm mindful of time, so I want to keep going on. What is the biggest block you see in people when it comes to money, and how do you break it?
Biggest block when it comes to money. People are scared to talk about it, full stop. I mean, that, even in business, people are scared to talk about what they've earned and, how, yeah, people don't want to talk money. They're scared to talk the word money. They don't, yeah. I find, I, just go back to my gloss reviews. When I do my consultation, I'll ask a client, what's your turnover? And we either get two extremes. One which is extremely exaggerated because when we see the books,
Mhm.
or one which is downgraded what they're earning in the first place because they don't want to tempt fate, which is what I've been told later on. Yeah. So people will either tell me, that they're turning over 250 grand, but they tell me they're £1 million company, or a client who's earning 250 grand and saying, oh, we average it around 100, and that I just find people are not very truthful with their money figures, and
And a
that
lot of it's
they
based on fear, isn't it?
it is fair. It is fair. It is fair, and that. But again, like I said, as a management accountant, my thing is always about looking at those numbers and understanding them. And if people get a grasp of that, so working with a management accountant so that they can understand, they will feel a lot better about money and figures in the long run, and that because they tell a great story.
Mm.
And that's
One of the most powerful things I did, and like every mistake that you could make, I've made it. Like literally, I used to run the business off the back of a fag packet. I'd be surprised every time a VAT bill come in. Um, and that listen, I've really been there, and when I learned the importance of a P&L and how to read it and how regularly to review it, and then actually coupled it with some budgets to go, actually, okay, well, if I do this, I'm going to make that.
Mhm.
And it unlocks something in my mind. It's like, you know what? I think I can only listen. A lot of what I did is driven from being a kid and not having a great deal and thinking
Mm.
I'm going to end up back there. Like everything is like I don't, poverty's round the corner. When actually, if you can be organised and you can be disciplined, and you can, if you get a grip of those finances, and I couldn't do it on my own, by the way. This is not something that was self-taught. I had to get help from somebody like yourself. It's allowed me to sleep better at night because I'm not panicking thinking I'm going to end up in a skip once or twice a month.
Mhm.
Okay. And I can see problems way ahead. I go, wait there, I budgeted to spend that on marketing and I've actually spent that, and the leads have coming down there, and I'm more attuned. And I'm not a creative. I'm not a numbers guy. I'm a big picture. I'm great with customers. I'm great at thinking through problems and going, right, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But I've got to have people around me going, well, what about this? What about that? What about just pulling on my coat strings a little bit?
I hear that.
Um, I'm going to wrap this up. Last question before I actually ask where we can find more about you. What would 9-year-old Andrea say if she saw you now?
They should be patting me on the back. Say, well done. Well done. I have not diverted from my dream or my goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's only got bigger, you know? So the fact that the dream that I had at 9 came to fruition. Yeah. When I was 15, I didn't let that stop me. I said, right, different path. What we're going to do? We'll go down this avenue. Let's do this. I let it happen. When I was working in industry, I worked in international law firms and investment banks, and that doing accounts. I was always in the finance department doing accounts, and that I learned from these. And then when I got made redundant, I was like, oh, okay, no worries. I'm still an accountant. I'll start my own practice. Don't watch that. No one's going to control my purse string. Yeah, I will start. I will decide if I have money. So I do that. And I've just constantly built and grown on everything that I do. You understand? Yeah, I'm a big believer in having dreams and making sure that you fulfill them. And, every goal that I have set, I have made it come to fruition. Yeah, that's just me in a nutshell. Hard work, grafter, I will do it. And if things go wrong, no problem. Let's get back on that ladder and climb back again. Shit happens, innit? Like,
Yeah.
let's just keep going and that. And so for me, it's just keep building on those goals. So 9-year-old Andrea should be very impressed with 50-year-old Andrea.
I've loved our conversation, like genuinely, and I've loved following you as well, and sort of seeing what you put out there. Where can people find out more about Andrea L. Richards?
Okay. So literally, Andrea L. Richards underscore on Instagram, Andrea L. Richards on LinkedIn, Andrea L. Richards on Facebook, and then it's everything Accounts Navigator. Accounts Navigator, all one word, usually in Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're
What
everywhere.
we're going to do when this goes out as well, we'll have a load of show notes as well where you can find out more about Andrea. Now, don't want you to go just yet, Andrea, because this has got to upload. So just hang around for a minute or two after I hit the end record button. But from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for joining us. You've been an absolutely wonderful guest, and we wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it.
God bless you, Duck.
Thank you. Take care.